Originally, I was going to just have a standalone piece about Qingque, but then I realized I should just save you the time and talk about the entire Erudition class itself. Like, I think that would be a better time spent instead of just one character. So, yeah, Erudition is the worst class in Honkai Star Rail. Now, this isn't the situation where it's like, oh, Keqing is bad, so Electro must be bad type of deal in Genshin Impact. Like, no. The problem is that conceptually, Erudition is balanced around dealing AoE damage. And, I like AoE damage. But the problem is that Erudition is balanced around AoE, therefore they don't really have single target. And not to mention the character designs are really, really bad. Not bad, unplayable garbage, but it's like, it doesn't really have a high skill ceiling. Basically, you can't push it incredibly high as of the characters in Erudition right now. So, first things first, don't expect me to have Herta background footage because Jesus, that character is so bad. But Herta's objectively the worst character in Honkai Star Rail, like, period. Her gimmick, I would say her gimmick is to have her follow-up attacks when you with her talent, when you reduce enemies to 50% HP or below, she will have a follow-up attack. But the problem is that it's not even good because it triggers once per enemy. And when that follow-up is triggered on one certain enemy, you don't get another follow-up attack unless a brand new enemy appears. And you will probably say, but bosses summon enemies, so your talent with Herta is essentially refreshed. Well, the follow-up damage is 36.25% at level 8 and 40% at level 10. That is once per enemy, and that is not even good once per enemy. And even if you look at her kit, her damage ratios are not even impressive because her attacks are vanilla attacks. They don't have any effects at all. Her ult is just damage, her skill is just damage. Really, really unfortunate character, and it's like a character designed to be dog water. Originally, I was thinking Himeko was the second worst character in Honkai Star Rail, but thinking about it, Himeko's bad, but she's consistently bad. Qingque can kind of show moments of brilliance, but most of the time is completely meh, just because of her gambling simulator. I'm not gonna go into her kit because I'm pretty sure you already know how her gambling works. But okay, people say Qingque is just as good as Seal, and I would have to completely disagree with that take. While yes, hypothetically, let's say Qingque does just as much damage as Seal, how much more skill points does Qingque use in order to match Seal's damage when Seal uses maybe 1, maybe 2 skill points? How much are you spending with Qingque? 3, 4, 5? And with Qingque, of course, you know that you're not guaranteed to match 4 tiles. And if Qingque, with her talent to try to match 4, skill to match 4, doesn't match 4, you just burn skill points for a maybe stronger than average basic attack, but much weaker than an enhanced basic attack. But Seal will infinitely do more damage with those 4, 5, 6 amount of skill points that you burn instead with Qingque. But even worse, Qingque's damage is inconsistent because it's really not enough to match 4 tiles. Like, even if you could always get 4 matching tiles when your allies take action, or you always have ult up 100% of the time, it's still a DPS loss because you need to use her skill for the damage amp. So, you want to have as much of your skill uses in order to amp your damage, but if you have no skill uses, you lose damage. I mean, it's not as bad as normal attacks, but it's still bad. Now you'll probably say, okay, what about E4? E4, while yes, it's pretty good, it's a 24% fixed chance. So you have a 25% chance of getting it. And really 24% chance. No, thank you. Now there's also some dumb restrictions on Qingque. For example, her enhanced basic attack does not give skill points until E6. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Another thing is that her first ascension skill refunds one skill point per skill use per battle. Not even once per turn, which would actually make it somewhat okay. Like maybe that could make it fun. But no, it's once per battle, which is insane. Now, for those of you who play Yu-Gi-Oh, or maybe in general, so in Yu-Gi-Oh, Qingque is a lot like a non-meta deck that needs 3 to 4 combo pieces to end on 1.5 negate board. Okay? When meta decks have 1 card combo starters that end on a full board. It's just like Seal needing 1 to 2 SP in order to deal damage, while Qingque in order to make that same amount of damage, to match the same amount of damage, Qingque needs so much more skill points.
I would say Himeko is basically 5-star Herta, since Himeko has a much better follow-up talent than Herta does. With Herta, as you know, your allies have to drop an enemy below 50% HP. With Himeko, she has to get 3 stacks, of which are gained by weakness breaking enemies. So when 3 enemies are weakness broken, Himeko gains 3 total stacks, and she immediately goes into a follow-up attack. Her kit has okay damage, but the only extra damage Himeko gets is the burn damage over time she gets from an Ascension talent, and dealing more skill damage to enemies when they have the burn status. But her kit is still vanilla attacks with no effects, and the burn triggers only when enemies take action, so you don't get any bonus damage the instant your enemies are burned. And follow-up attacks don't really deal bonus damage against enemies with burn, unlike her skill, which is kind of dumb. And this basically makes Himeko, this makes her damage ceiling very low, and the only content she would be good in are enemies that are weak to fire and have low weakness or toughness. Low toughness bars, which is not exactly difficult content. So if you can't bring Himeko in difficult content, is she a good character at all? Now, who is the best Erudition character? Is it Serval or is it Jing Juan? And I would have to say it's Serval. Not because Serval is a better character than Jing Juan. It's just that Serval you get for free. Like, are you kidding me? And you have to pull for Jing Juan. So yeah, let's talk about Jing Juan. With Jing Juan, he's basically a stand-in for Lightning Lord. Lightning Lord deals an ultimate's worth of damage without needing energy. Now, while this looks good on paper, you realize that the Lightning Lord's damage heavily relies on Jing Juan building stacks from skill and ult in order to increase Lightning Lord's damage, which, because Jing Juan still needs to use his ult, you're back at square one. Because you want to use more skills, it forces you to bring Bronya into your Jing Juan teams to give him more turns and therefore more stacks, making Jing Juan teams more expensive. Fortunately, Bronya is basically a staple, and she'll last quite a long relevancy in Honkai Star Rail because extra turns is very useful. And with Tingyun's main benefit is her SP efficiency, but using Jing Juan and Tingyun together means she has to spend more SP because Lightning Lord will not be buffed when Tingyun's buff has one more turn left. For example, if Jing Juan attacks and there's one more turn left, the buff will dissipate, and Lightning Lord, because he's a slow boy, he will not get the attack buff Tingyun gives. And I think one of the worst parts is about Lightning Lord is his attack is a bounce and not a true AoE, meaning that targeting is completely random with 2+ enemies, or even like 3+ enemies actually. So you'll find that some enemies will be more or less damaged than others. So this makes Jing Juan a Erudition that's kind of bad at AoE. I mean, it's not. he doesn't have a true AoE option for Lightning Lord, which is completely dumb. Now with Lightning Lord, he is at a whopping land-breaking speed that makes mobility scooters seem like a bullet train. 60 speed. This makes Lightning Lord so slow that you spend like 1 or 2 turns damaging enemies, and then Lightning Lord will come in out of nowhere and overkill enemies. And you won't have control when Lightning Lord attacks unless you start speeding him up with skills and ults to just make him slightly bit faster to move him up the action bar. But the only way to guarantee Lightning Lord is to reach 10 stacks of Jing Juan, which that means you need to. So first, Lightning Lord will naturally have three stacks. One skill use will have 6, another skill use will have 9, and then you will need and another skill use. What I mean is by using Bronya, and then you potentially need to use his ult, and that gives you 10. Of course, that overfills you at like what's it called, 12, which is really dumb. But yeah, that allows Lightning Lord to instantly attack. But yikes. Now another thing, if Jing Juan is stunned, Lightning Lord can't attack and will essentially be frozen and will be pushed down the action bar as if it recovered from freezing, which is, oh my god, are you serious? Oh, common Lightning Lord L over here. Oh, nah. Bro. Common Lightning Lord L. He actually just missed timing. Like, this makes Jing Juan basically Eula in Genshin Impact, except worse, because you know what Eula has? True AoE. It's not as if you land your Lightfall Sword and it's not like one enemy will take like 200k damage, one enemy will take 150, and there's some random enemy that'll take like 200k. Or did I say 250? I don't know. Basically, Eula will deal damage equally to enemies within the AoE. But Lightning Lord will just have a random bounce, and it's just yikes. Again, this isn't that like Serval is better than Jing Juan. No, it's that Serval is free and Jing Juan you have to pull for. And with Jing Juan's overbalancing, which made him very underpowered. Like, he's balanced, but he's so underpowered. If they made Lightning Lord a true AoE, I think that would have made him pretty good. Maybe give him more stacks, but have 10 the maximum amount, the minimum amount to make Lightning Lord immediately take action. So you can have 12 and have the damage of like 12 stacks instead of limited to 10. I mean, maybe even make it 9, but... Now Serval has her own set of issues. She may be the best Erudition in Star Rail, but that doesn't mean she's a strong character by any means. Like, she's playable, but to my standards, Serval is like mid-tier. So Serval's main kit design and gimmick is to apply shock with her skill and using her ult to extend shock debuffs. Her ult also extends shock debuffs when you weakness break an enemy with lightning, so that can be a very unique gimmick. But the biggest problem is, what do you think Serval's class sounds like? So she applies shock to enemies and she increases the duration of shock. Sounds like an Nihility, doesn't it? So because Serval is Erudition and not Nihility, Serval can't use Nihility Lightcones to increase break effect or damage over time. And not to mention, Erudition Lightcones are dog water. None of them have break effect, none of them have damage over time increase. They're all basically follow-up damage, which is dumb. Have you seen Serval's like best in slot? Like, if I look at Serval's supposed best in slot, it's make the world clamor. Well, not best in slot as in like actual meta-wise. No, I'm talking about like they have the art and the character and yeah. So the wearer regenerates 20 energy immediately upon entering battle and increases ultimate damage by 32%. I don't know if that's S5, but like yikes. That's pretty bad. The energy regeneration is only once per battle. So if you're in a long fight, it's absolutely useless. It increases your ultimate damage when you're not even gonna. Oh, okay, you're gonna ult a lot, but like your main gimmick is to apply shock. But even then, shock is a debuff, so it's reliant on your enemies actually taking action in order for it to deal damage. And another thing is that her AoE is very, very decent, but her single target damage is abysmal. The only upside to her single target damage is that once she applies shock to an enemy, she can just start spamming normal attacks. But it's like, why do you want Serval as a skill point battery when you could just use Pella, who can actually like help your team deal damage? Now, her ult does extend shock from weakness breaking, which I mentioned before, which can be very useful. But again, no access to break effect Lightcones. Now, I did say that you should stop focusing on break effect because the damage you get from breaking enemies isn't that great. But in this case, you're trying to break enemies in order to apply shock from breaking them. So yeah. If Serval was Nihility instead of Erudition, she would have actually been a much better character than she is now. Not by much, but she might have like had better design, because extending shock and applying shock, that's more of a Nihility playstyle. But Erudition, I don't understand why Serval is classified as Erudition when her gameplay is based around applying shock. So and that's all of Erudition as of 1.1. Overall, Erudition is, I don't know, it feels like they tried to balance it around them doing AoE damage, but they made it either way too balanced or they made them dog water on purpose. Like, there's gotta be some characters that are good in at least the archetype, but none of them are. Okay? Like, even when people were saying, oh, Electro's garbage, oh, Electro's bad, Qingque is bad, so Electro... Like, Official was a fairly decent character, and even now, Official's still a pretty good character in Genshin Impact at like, what version is it? 3.6, 3.7? I don't know. I haven't kept up with the game in a while. But yeah, to sum it all up, the too long didn't watch. Yeah, I know most of you don't make it all the way to the end, so those of you guys who made it to the end, thanks. Okay, Herta. Herta has basically no gimmick. Once enemies have dropped to below 50%, unless you have a unless you have more enemies appear in the fight, Herta is absolutely useless, and even if enemies appear in the fight, her follow-up damage is absolutely abysmal. Qingque is very inconsistent and takes up way too many resources in order to match Seal, and she's also very RNG reliant, to where you wanna maximize the amount of talent activations you get instead of just straight up matching for. And not to mention her stupid restrictions, like her enhanced basic attack not giving SP until E6. Ooh. Himeko. Himeko's consistently bad, and she can be okay, just like... Himeko's just better, Herta. Himeko's based around breaking enemy shields, and then making follow-up attacks, and then doing follow-up attacks, and breaking enemies, and that. Other than that, Himeko doesn't really do much. Yeah. Only good on very weak content. Jing Juan. Lightning Lord has a lot of downsides. He's incredibly slow, he overkills enemies. You need to spam skill and ult with Jing Juan, and you'll also need Bronya, which can make teams expensive and SP very expensive. Jing Yuan isn't really that good on Jing Juan, and if Jing Juan gets CC'd, Lightning Lord's gone. And Jing Juan isn't really that good in AoE because of Lightning Lord's bounce. Well, just because it's not a true AoE, it's basically DPS loss. Serval. Serval is the best Erudition character, not because she's Nihility. Because she's designed to be Nihility, but they decided, let's nerf her and give her Erudition, so her light cone options suck, so she doesn't have access to break effect with nihility and damage over time increase. Not to mention Erudition light cones suck. Really? Follow-up damage? What part of Serval's kit has follow-up damage? Serval's AoE is okay, but single target damage is awful. SP efficient though, and yeah. If you made it this far, thanks. See y'all later. Bye.